I just thought, I can't die. My daughter needs me, and I want to be able to run around with her and play with her and tell her I love you. And I didn't know if I stroked, if I would be able to say that. And so I just begged God, just let me live. Like, I know I'm gonna lose this baby, but please just, by your grace, let me live.
Welcome to the I Am Mother of the Year podcast, where we equip and encourage moms just like you to move from isolation, fear, comparison, and chaos to community, compassion, peace, and freedom. We're so glad you're here. Hey guys, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Jen, and this is the I Am Mother of the Year podcast.
And October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and we want to honor that in the best way that we know how, which is by sharing stories. And so we are bringing you a 4-part series. Today is part 1 called Yet We Thrive. Because Yet We Thrive is one of our partner ministries. It's a community that helps women who are struggling to have babies or have lost babies of their own. And their mission is to live full, thriving lives, even in the midst of impossible circumstances. And for the next 4 weeks, you're going to hear 4 stories that are so painful, yet so impossibly hopeful. And so we're going to start today with Yet We Thrive founder, Lindsay Behr.
Mama Bear is in the
All right, in the host, Mama Behr.
Yay, we're so glad you're here.
Me too.
Can you tell, her, us, everyone, who is Lindsay? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Lindsay. I am 32 years old. I have 4 babies, Earthside, all 9 and under, and then 3 girls, 1 little boy. Was kind of our miracle baby boy. And we've lost 3 little boys all in my second trimester.
Sorry.
Let's dive in right there because this is the painful story we're sharing today. 3 boys. Can you tell us the story of your first little boy? What's his name and what's his story?
Okay, so Judah was our first loss. He was my second pregnancy. And I kind of knew right from the start that I was never going to bring that baby home. I just remember a specific moment on my living room floor and my mom talking about how much joy one baby brought and how can you even magnify, times 2. It's like when you have that baby, it's going to be so amazing. I can't even imagine it. And I just thought in my head, and I almost said it, if I have that baby. And I was like, I can't say that because my mom's going to panic and go into a worry. But I just had this moment of, I just knew something was wrong. And every time our insurance was weird at that point in time. And so I couldn't see my doctor for a little bit. And every time we drove past the clinic, I would just cry because I was like, something is wrong. I can feel it. I just need to hear this baby's heartbeat. And so we went in and heard the heartbeat and everything seemed fine. But then I started to get really, really sick.
Okay. So can we pause there? And so first I want to know do you think it was like God in his kindness preparing you like emotionally, which seems horrible. Like I don't want to be prepared for something like that. But then you do want to be prepared for it, you know? So you think it was God in his kindness preparing your heart. And did you share that with your husband?
No, because I was too afraid of sounding weird or morbid, or I had heard a lot of stories of miscarriage around that time, and I thought maybe I'm just getting in my head. Maybe it's just me being fearful. So I just kind of kept that to myself. Yeah. But I knew from the start it was a boy. I knew, I was like, this is a little boy that's inside of me. And I was really hopeful that I was just in my head. But then I did start to get so sick.
Yeah. So you heard the heartbeat and did relief?
Yes.
And then did it change a little bit inside or were you?
Yeah, there was relief, but at the same time, I just still had that gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. And I was very sick from the start, but I just thought it was a really bad pregnancy. Yeah. And I was carrying differently. And so I was like, oh, well, it must be boy because I'm so sick and I'm carrying differently and all these other things. Yeah.
So start there. You're really sick.
So I was probably, 12 or 13 weeks along, and I noticed that my ankle was a little bit swollen. And just a little bit. I could just barely feel it. My mom's a nurse, so I asked her, I was like, is this in my head or is my ankle actually swollen? And she was like, it's swollen. I was like, oh, well, I'm just starting early this time, whatever. And she had this look on her face like, that's not normal, Lindsay. You shouldn't be swelling yet. You need to call your doctor. And I was like, okay, I'm sure it's fine. I'll call him. It's fine, whatever. But then quickly, I got really, really sick.
Like nauseous, fatigue, or what were you experiencing?
Yeah, I literally looked at myself every day in the mirror and said, you look like death.
Oh.
Because I just looked terrible. I was weak. I was like having these weird, like even the skin around my fingernails was like starting to peel. I was like, maybe it's so gross, but I was like waking up and like not making it to the trash can to vomit because it was like, which is not my normal. So yeah, and then I started getting this weird pain in my stomach and so bad, like every other step, I was like, oh, this hurts really bad. This hurts really bad. Oh. And then that just got worse. Like the next day it was so bad. I was wailing in my bed and I called my doctor and I was like, I talked to the doctor that was on call and she was like, well, you're not far enough along for this to be pregnancy related. So maybe just go to the immediate care.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I don't. So my mom came over, took my blood pressure. It was sky high. And she's like, you just try to sleep and I'm just going to come in and take your blood pressure every hour. Just stay asleep. I'm just going to do what I need to do. So she kept an eye on me all weekend. And because we knew that doctor was going to be on call the whole weekend. So she's like, just wait until Monday and call your doctor. You can talk to him, see what's going on. So that Monday was my birthday.
Oh my God.
It was terrible. And I just couldn't even, like, I had stopped eating at that point. I was so sick and I just sat down and I just couldn't even function. Yeah. And so I called my doctor and they're like, well, why didn't you call? Why aren't you here? Why aren't you in the hospital? And I was like, I did call. She told me to go to immediate care. They're like, okay. So I went in, I got all the tests run. I was barely able to drive myself. Ran all the tests and I had an appointment scheduled for that Thursday anyway. And my doctor was like, well, we need to get you back in. I was like, well, I have an appointment on Thursday. He's like, no, we can't wait that long. You have to come back tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. I was like, okay, that doesn't sound good. And that night my family had a birthday celebration for me. And I just sat there and cried because I just wanted to keel over and die. I was so sick. Yeah. But then the next morning I went in, they thought I maybe had hyperthyroidism, but all my test levels were out of control. And they're like, we need to figure out what's going on. Come back tomorrow. I was like, okay. So came back the next day. And then the next day I had to come back and it was like I had almost walked into a movie scene, you know, like when you walk into, like when it pans to the ER scene and everybody's running around like crazy. That's what it felt like when I went into the doctor's office on Thursday morning. Wow. And they're like, we need to get an ultrasound and figure out what's going on. So they like rushed me back there and they're like, we think something's wrong with your placenta. And my doctor was like, I don't know if this is a viable pregnancy. Your life is in danger. You are my priority. And you're my patient. I need to make sure that you're going to live. He's like, obviously we want the baby to live, but you're my patient. And that's what we need to take care of. So they looked at my placenta and it was super weird. He's like, I have you scheduled to see an MFM specialist. He's like, I don't like a lot of them, but I really like this guy. I really trust him. I trust his judgment. So you have an appointment with him.
What's
now?
MFM?
Oh, a maternal fetal medicine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they're like the special, complicated pregnancy.
And can you go back to how you feel hearing the words, your life is in danger?
Yeah. I was shocked. Like I knew I wasn't going to have my baby at that point, but I had no idea that I had been so sick.
Danger. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could feel it. My body could feel it, but I think I just...
Well, you're staring in the mirror every morning going, I look like death.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he told me, you have an MFM appointment now. Leave here, go to the hospital, and you're going to meet with him. And I was like, okay. So I walk in, and he looks very grave and concerned. And we had my mom come in with us just so she would maybe have the presence of mind to ask the right questions.
Totally.
But I could tell from the moment that doctor looked at me that I didn't know. It was that moment like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
so
It was
scary.
awful. Yeah, it was really scary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so overwhelming. Like you
yeah.
can't think clearly in that moment. You're just overcome.
Yes. Yeah. And he was afraid to tell me you need to deliver your baby.
Yeah.
Because he even said, like, we're different people. We have different upbringings. We have different worldviews. But you need to do something soon. And if you don't, then you might not make it. And it was really overwhelming for all of us to take in. And he'd performed an amniocentesis and a CVS, which I don't remember what CVS stands for.
Look it up.
But the nurse told me she's never seen him do both of those tests on somebody at the same time ever.
Oh my gosh.
And my weight limit was 5 pounds, so I couldn't even hold my 10-month-old.
Yeah.
So they wheeled me home in a wheelchair.
Wait, so you delivered the baby?
No, that's just from the test.
This is just your first meeting with this MFM guy.
And he says, you might die if you don't deliver the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then they send you home.
Yeah.
How do you go home knowing you might die? And did you know at that point that, like, he's not going to make it no matter what? Or did you think there's still a chance for him, there's still a chance for me?
We had to wait for the results from the test to know. So my husband was he didn't want to do anything yet because we didn't want to lose the baby and we didn't know. And and the doctor didn't even say deliver the baby. He said, I think he said terminate the pregnancy.
Terminate the pregnancy, yeah.
I think so. And that scared us.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to.
Yeah.
No, like, this is my baby, this is my son.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like 16 weeks along at that point. And so terminating the pregnancy was not.
No.
I was like, I can't just go in and
Right.
Yeah.
It was complicated.
Yes.
It was impossible.
Yes.
Yes.
Impossible
situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to digest that was really difficult. So we went home and talked to my family, and my sister-in-law and brother go to church with an MFM specialist. So we're like, can we get his number? Can we just talk to him and see what he has to say? And he was amazing and accepted our insurance. And so he opened early the next day so that we could get in and see him.
Oh, wow.
And he did an in-depth ultrasound, showed us all the things, and there were so many, like, there just was no chance that this baby was going to make it. There was fluid on his brain, his heart was malformed, his kidney, like he was missing a kidney, all these things. And he is a believer, and he just looked me straight in the face and said, if you do not deliver this baby, and he said, that's what it is. You're delivering. You're not terminating your pregnancy. You're not having an abortion. You're delivering the baby. He's like, you and I both know that all life is sacred and ordained by God. But if you don't do something, and I mean today, this baby has 0 chance of survival outside of the womb. Yeah. You need to save your life at this point. Yeah. And he's like, if you don't do something now, you're going to end up in the hospital, and not for something small like high blood pressure. You're going to be in the ICU because of a stroke or heart attack or aneurysm or collapsed lung.
Because what was happening inside?
So I had a partial molar pregnancy with an existing twin, which is a super rare 1 to 5% of women in the world have this type of pregnancy. So there's not a lot known about it because there's just not a lot of cases. So basically my placenta was acting as a cancer. It was like that was the cancer, and it was slowly killing me, and it was killing my baby.
Attacking both of you.
No, the thing that's supposed to give life.
Yes, exactly.
Forgets its job
Yeah.
and is sucking the life out of you and has now at this point killed your child.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not supposed to do that.
I know, it's not.
All of this seems completely wrong. Let's in this phase of it, in this, okay, I know the baby will not survive. I have to save my life. What are your conversations like with God?
I just went to bed every night praying, like, let me live and thrive, and not just. I just thought, I can't die. My daughter needs me, and I want to be able to run around with her and play with her and tell her I love you. And I didn't know if I stroked, if I would be able to say that. And So I just begged God, just let me live. Like, I know I'm going to lose this baby, but please just, I hear grace, let me live. And so thankfully, that doctor called my doctor and he's like, I don't know, you haven't seen Lindsay in a couple days, but she does not look good. Like, he made me stay in his office because he was like, you can't leave. I'm afraid
Finally. Good.
Yeah.
Like, enough people telling you you're going to die and then
Just
sending you
go
home.
You know what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So he made me stay and check my vitals, and then finally was like, okay, you can go home, but you have to promise me that you're going to call the day. And a few hours later, my doctor called me. He's like, I just talked to Dr. Harry, and he said you need to come in today.
Yes.
He's like, I haven't seen you in a couple days. I don't know what you look like, but he said you look like death.
Yes.
And you have to come in, and we have to start this process today. And I was like, all right, I needed the hand of God to move because I couldn't do that to my husband. I couldn't say, too bad, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
It's me or the baby, okay?
Yeah, right.
Like,
That's what it
what it feels,
is.
yeah.
And do you feel alone in that too?
Oh, yes.
Like so
Yes.
isolated?
I would be resentful. I'd be like, why aren't you jumping at this
Right,
immediately?
it's
I am
me.
your wife. I could maybe make you another baby. Hello?
Right.
Why is this even a hesitation? But all the complexities
So many
of
things.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my
And then how do you at
gosh.
the same time call and schedule a very, very, very premature delivery of a baby who you know will be stillborn?
Yeah. Well, that was also the thing, was that we didn't know if he was going to be stillborn or not. Yeah. At that point, I was 17 or 18 weeks.
So you could have held a.
So
And did you?
halfway.
So let's fast forward.
Yes, he was stillborn,
You delivered.
but I prayed that he wouldn't be alive because they can be alive for a few hours sometimes, and there's nothing you can do. And I was like, I have suffered enough. I don't need that.
Right.
So I was like, Jesus, just take this baby now.
Yeah.
With you to heaven.
Yes.
I'll meet him someday.
Yes. And so they gave me the medicine, ran 1,000 tests again. And it just, like, driving to the hospital just felt like I was driving to death row.
Yes.
Because I didn't know. I still didn't know if I was going to live.
Right.
They didn't know if I was going to make it through delivery. And they didn't know how long it was going to take me to deliver. They told me, you could be here for 4 days or so before you deliver. They're like, nothing's going to happen tonight. That's not the way the medicine works. You might start having contractions tomorrow. So we got there like that evening.
On a scale from 1 to 10, what is your fear level in the car driving to
10,
death row?
11.
Yeah.
Just be
I
alive.
might not
Yeah.
come home after this.
Mhm.
I cannot imagine the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
In the
so hard.
unknown, everything. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But when we got there, they told me it's not gonna happen tonight. Just prepare yourself for the long haul. Nothing's gonna happen tonight. We're just gonna keep giving you the medicine, and when your body is ready. So we got there in the evening, and it felt really long. It felt like we were there for forever. But by like 2:00 that morning, I had delivered him, and they kept telling me.
and go through labor?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And they kept telling me, if this happens, call me in the room and we'll check you. And I would be like, okay, well, this is happening. And they're like, well, you're not delivering yet because that's impossible. But somehow,
It was possible.
yes. Yeah.
grace of God.
Yes.
Your baby.
hmm And the next morning, actually, the MFM who had sent me there told me, like, we see miracle. He called me to check on me. He's like, we see miracles happen every day, but like, this is truly a miracle that you delivered when you did, because that's just not how it works.
So
And
you
so-
feel like your life was so on the line that, like, it was like God took the baby,
Yes.
right, and
Yeah.
saved. He spared you.
Literally.
Yes,
Yeah.
we think that I miscarried and
Yeah.
delivered, as opposed to
Yeah.
they don't think it was the medicine.
Mm.
So, which lifted like a whole layer of guilt off of that.
Yeah. So did you hold him?
Mhm. But here's the what's the word?
The silver lining.
Plot
of the-
twist.
Yeah.
Plot twist. We thought he was a girl because the ultrasound tech was like, "Oh, it's a girl."
Oh, okay.
And so we didn't think to check or question or anything, and we had named him Ruth.
Oh
because
my
we thought he was a girl.
Okay.
And then
weird, yeah.
we got a phone call a few days later, and they're like, "We thought we should let you know. We got the DNA results."
You were
It's a
right.
boy.
You were right.
Yes, because I was shocked when it was a girl. I was like,
Yes.
"There's no way. This is a boy, and I know it's a boy." But I was so sick It was
Oh
just
yeah,
my
whatever,
parents longing.
whatever
Yes.
the gender, and just
Yes.
oh my god.
Yeah, so we spent days mourning a girl,
Yeah.
and then found out he was in fact a boy, and then felt like I didn't feel like my mourning process started over, but everybody, because I always knew he was a boy.
Yeah.
Yes, but everybody around me that
Started over.
over because they were
Yes.
mourning a different baby.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
So
And you
what do
named
you
him
say
Judah,
to your baby?
Did you name him Judah?
Yes.
Yes.
So you name him Judah. Okay. What do you say to Judah / Baby Ruth? Baby Ruth. Okay, on like you're holding him. What do you say to him? Did you talk to him?
No, I was too sick. I don't even remember.
You don't remember that. Okay.
The only thing that I can remember, because I was really drugged because I still was at risk. They still didn't know. So I was asleep most of the time. But the only thing that I very specifically remember is I had a vision of my family and I sitting under a tree and a little boy running to me. And I knew that was God promising me, you will have a son. And I just clung to that because I just wanted a little boy so bad.
Yeah.
Took me 4 more pregnancies to have a living boy. And he was our last. We're like, this is it. This is our last one. If it's not a boy, we're just going to adopt a boy. And God can fulfill it that way.
Yes.
But I was surprised every pregnancy when they're like, it's a girl.
Let's skip ahead to, because you said 2 more pregnancies, and then you got pregnant with twin boys.
Yes.
What?
You got pregnant with twin boys.
Yes.
So here's God doubling down on his promise.
Yes, and
That's
that's exactly
that's
what
what
I
it
thought.
was.
Right.
Like, this is the way he works. He gives and he takes away.
Yeah.
And now he's given and he's
Yeah.
redeeming. And this is how it, like,
Yes.
finally my redemption story.
Yes.
This is, because that, we said that was my last pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I had no suspicions at all. I had no idea I was going to lose those boys. None.
Well, because your faith is so high. Like,
Here
you,
we go.
you told me this.
Yeah.
I trust you. You're good. You want to give me good things. I'm doubling down.
Expectant faith. Here
Right.
we go.
Yes, we're doing it.
Yes.
And then what happened?
So the week before I lost them, I went in, it was the day before my appointment, and I had a dream that I lost one of them. And I did. Yes. And in my dream, I was like praying that the other one would live. So the next day I go into my appointment and he can only find 1 heartbeat.
No.
And I was like, I had this dream last night, bear with me, because my doctor's amazing. And because of my history, he has told me every pregnancy, if you ever have even a bad dream, call me,
Oh,
come
my
in, and we'll do an
gosh.
ultrasound.
Yeah. Oh.
So I was like, I had a dream last night that we could only find 1 heartbeat. Can we please bring the ultrasound machine in? He's like, yes, absolutely. Of course. Let's bring that in. He's like, the second one is probably just hiding behind the first one, but we'll just see.
Hope,
Mhm.
faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we found it right away and it was fine and they were both fine. And I was like, okay, it was just a dream. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
And then 2 days later, I felt really, really, really off. I just felt, but I had just had or maybe it was the next day, I had just had my check and, you can just feel off after that sometimes. And so I just had my mother-in-law come over and I just laid in bed when she was there because I just felt weird. I can't even put my finger on it. I think that's the day that I lost them. So Monday, I was supposed to meet the MFM doctor, the same one. And not the same doctor, but the same office. And I was dreading it because they were identical twins. I was at an increased risk category.
Sure.
So we were going to go into this appointment to talk about all the risks that we could face, all the troubles, whatever. So, and come up with a plan. So I was dreading going in anyway because I hadn't been in that office since we had lost Judah. But I was excited. It was the week of Thanksgiving, and my husband, that's like the only week that he takes off of work and hangs out with us the whole week, and we do fun things. So I was really excited to just get in and see the boys, and because we knew that they were boys at that point, because the week before, my doctor was like, there's 2 penises there. Can I say that?
Hallelujah.
Yeah. He's like, I see it. And they were definitely.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, and you go in like, okay, this is part of like the redemptive God that I know.
Yeah.
He can reclaim this office space and these
Yes.
memories. Like,
Yes.
that's the kind of faith that I'm hearing you have.
Totally.
Walking in going, okay, this is just another step in my redemption story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The tech gets on. She's like, yes, they're boys. They're definitely boys. Let me just check a couple things. Gets really quiet. Let me go talk to the doctor.
Oh, did you know then?
No, I had no idea.
Oh, okay.
No clue. Doctor comes in, and I remember I just felt like so stupid afterwards, but I was like, it looks like they're in a bunk bed, because like one was after the other. I was like, that's what's to come.
Yeah, excited, pregnant, here we go.
Yeah. And then she told me there were no heartbeats. And I lost it.
Yeah.
And how do you recover? Here, Thanksgiving week, here we're all together. This is our big week with our family.
Yeah. And this is God's big redemption story for you.
Yes, I was crushed and so confused.
Right. You doubled down on your promises. What?
Yeah.
And then how do you leave an appointment like that?
They sent me down to, they're like, you want to go see your doctor now? I was like, yes, I need to see my doctor because he needs to come for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just walked down the hall, and it was just, I just couldn't stop crying. Like, I was trying to fill out the paperwork, and I was like, I just can't.
Yeah.
Seeing all these other pregnant moms in the office and thinking, I wish I was them instead of me. And I went into his office, and he was like, Lindsay, I don't understand what happened. He's like, you had that dream, and then we checked on them, and they were fine, and that was like 4 days ago.
Right.
So what? He's like, I have no idea. I don't know what to tell you except that I'm so sorry.
I was going to say, are there any answers of, oh, well, this happened, we ran this test, and this is like...
They could have, but we didn't.
No,
it didn't
doesn't
matter
No.
at that point. One of the boys was 4 days larger than the other boy, and we think that maybe that had something to do with it. But we just didn't. I didn't want to. I had done the test before. I had done all that before, and I didn't want to do it again.
No.
And
How do you deliver those babies?
so they told me, you can wait for your body to deliver it yourself, or you can come in and have a D&C. And it was the week of Thanksgiving. The last thing I wanted was Thanksgiving dinner to be like, oh, I'm going into labor to deliver my dead babies. That's just not how I
Right.
want my
And you
baby to
have
go.
3 girls at home at this point.
Yeah. And I had done that. I had delivered a dead baby before. I didn't want to do it again.
Which should not...
Specifically
No,
to
you
them.
should not be allowed.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to have a D&C. I want it now, if possible.
I've been through
Mhm.
freaking enough.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And so my doctor was like, totally get it. We'll get you in first thing tomorrow morning. He's like, in the meantime, here's this pill in case you do go into labor to help with the bleeding, along with my cell phone number. Call me whenever you need to.
Okay.
So,
Thank the Lord
Yes.
for good doctors.
yes. Yeah. So we went home. All I wanted to do was watch Christmas movies and snuggle on the couch with my babies. And the next morning I went in and had them double check the heartbeats, just
Yeah.
the one last ditch effort, and there was nothing. So D&C that day.
I have not experienced this. Jen, you have experienced miscarriage. I can't even ask this. How do you sit on a couch with dead babies inside of you? Like, how do you, like, as a human, do that?
I just had to kind of disconnect a little bit because that was a big reason too that I wanted the D&Cs, because I was like, I can't carry 2 dead babies around inside my stomach
Right. Yeah,
It's not
for days. Who knows how long? And sometimes with twins, you'll have one and then have to wait until the other one comes. That's like, not for me.
No.
Been there, done that.
Done.
Never again.
No.
Never again.
Okay, so you went the next morning, had the
Had a
DNC.
And then that point in my life, that same week, I got the phone call about my favorite aunt who watched me when my parents were at work. I lived at her house, practically speaking. Had skin cancer and wasn't going to make it.
You're like,
Was it your birthday too?
Right,
Like,
no
how can this just heap on and just get worse?
Yes. And just a whole slew. They said she had 5 or 6 months, and she was gone like 3 weeks later. The day of her funeral, I had to go back and have a second DNC because they didn't.
I can't.
get
I hate
enough.
all of this
I can't
right
do this.
now.
Yeah.
What? Okay, where was your faith in this? Believer before, believer after, in this, especially this week, were you like,
I was like, what the hell, Jesus?
Yes.
Right. You said you were good. Did you
Yes.
question his goodness,
Yes.
his faithfulness,
And where are you?
the relationship?
Your
Could you-
promises.
Right. Could you sense him anywhere near you?
Yes, I could. And I specifically remember texting some of the women that are on my team now saying, I cannot believe that his promises are true and his promises are good because he has failed me.
Yes. This time. Now my aunt. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It was just, and there were like other situations too that were like health problems with their kids and all these other things that I just kept telling people, if I had to face just one of these
Yes.
things, like by itself, alone,
Yes.
it would be enough to put me over the edge.
Yes.
But here it is, heap, and I'm dealing with all of this all at once, and I am barely holding it together.
Yeah. Well,
But Hillsong has a song, and it says, even when it hurts like hell, I'm still going to keep singing. And I just played that song over, and I sang that song to myself over and over and over and over again. And the only thing that gave me peace was seeing my aunt, and she's always been the baby whisperer. She loves babies, and she was diabetic and blind, but she loved babies and was really good at taking care of them, even as a blind woman. And she told me, I cannot wait to go hold your boys
to see
and to play with them.
Oh.
Yes. And I was like, okay, Jesus, you're still good,
Yes.
even though,
Even
still
even though
good.
it hurts.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we've landed on hope. Because that's what we're trying to get to. Yet we thrive. Like,
How do you thrive?
how do you
after
thrive
this?
in that? Thriving in the midst of impossible circumstances, that feels impossible. I don't get it, except for I know God.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so I feel like that's where we will land, but let's fast forward so we can wrap up. But you have a boy. You have a baby boy.
Yes. And that
Living in your
pregnancy-
home.
Yes. It was the worst pregnancy because every ultrasound I went in and I cried.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure you were
I was
skeptical
scared the whole time.
Yeah.
I like hardly even enjoyed my pregnancy. And then once I found out he was a boy, I was like, well,
there it goes.
there it goes.
Yeah.
Because God takes my boys.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he was born and he's amazing and we love him. And there's a verse, it's Luke 2:15 maybe. It says, blessed is she who has believed that what the Lord has promised her will come to pass. And I just kept telling myself that over and over and over again. And every time I was worried that there's something wrong with him or something bad, I just told myself, he promised me this and now it's coming to pass.
Wow.
Just keep believing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that delivery day of getting your son. Because then it would be like, okay, now
You're holding your boy.
Yes.
Yes. I've been through the ringer,
Uh-huh.
but it can't be for nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And it is not for nothing. You are
Exactly.
so brave in going, this can't be for nothing. Like, this cannot be. I am going to bring this back out in front of me, sit in this, talk about this all the time, honor and celebrate Judah and what are the two boys' names?
Arthur and Oliver.
Arthur
Yes.
and Oliver. You're honoring them every day by the
Yes.
community that you're building,
Yes.
inviting women in.
And sharing your pain with the other people who are in the trenches right now.
Yes.
What if someone's watching Christmas movies on the couch?
Yes.
You're speaking to her right now,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
by being brave. Because I just met you today.
Yeah.
I could have met you at a Kroger and never known
known.
your story.
Yes.
Like you'd never know the pain that someone's gone through.
Yeah.
I wore this shirt on purpose today. It says love where you are. And even though we can be in really ugly, nasty, terrible places, there's always something that we can find that's beautiful about it. And if my pain and my hurt can help me sit in the pain of others and help to pull them out of the trenches, then it's worth it. It's hard and it sucks and I hate it and I would change it if I could.
Yeah.
But I can't. And so I'm going to do with it what I can and help meet women where they're at. And the crazy thing is, when we lost Judah, so many women were coming out of the woodwork telling me, I lost a baby. I lost a baby. I lost a baby. And I thought, why didn't I know?
Yeah, right.
Why didn't I know that 1/3 of all the women I know have lost a baby? Why don't we talk about this?
We don't.
And that's why we're so glad you shared your story. And that's why we're so glad. And our hope in this is that you, no matter if you find yourself in an impossible situation or not, today, whatever you're going through, my hope and our hope here is that you can still say, yet we thrive.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, founder of Yet We Thrive, a community for women who have lost or are struggling to have babies. It is our aim to help you thrive, even in the midst of impossible circumstances. You can find us on Facebook or on Instagram at Yet We Thrive. We look so forward to connecting with you and holding a place for you and your stories, a place where we can hold you up, even in your darkest moments, and tell you, yet we thrive.
Thanks for listening to the I Am Mother of the Year podcast with Lisa and Jen. If you love what you hear and want insider access to more conversations just like these, exclusive Mother of the Year merch, and access to the I Am Mother of the Year podcast one day early, join the growing community of patrons who support our movement at patreon.com/I Am Mother of the Year. Talk to you next week.